welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV. We are here in Ishgard in front of Sidurgu and Rielle because our Dark Knight turned 80. Our closure. We will tell you, you are one and you are two. You can choose. Ah, Serenia, it so happens I have a letter for you. But before we talk about that, mind telling me what you've been getting yourself into lately? You and your science, I mean, have an inkling, perhaps. I went and saved another world, as it happens. Come again? Reflection of a source, parallel world? Sin Eaters? What under seven hells are you on about? Something tells me this is only going to make any kind of sense if you walk me through it from the beginning, step by step. Right then, so to sum up, you were swept up into yet another realm-shaking conflict, were you? Well, of course you were. You have an insatiable hunger for it, don't you? And even when you bite off more than you can chew, you refuse to let go. What? As if you didn't know. Hell, from the moment I laid eyes on you, I suspected you were a particular blend of impulsive and stubborn. It takes a special kind of bastard to become a Dark Knight, much less a warrior of light, don't you think? You traveled into a doomed world and pledged your sword to a futile cause. You fought and you fought and you fought. And in the end, you won the day. Though I know it wasn't without loss, without sacrifice. Victories like that are always bought with blood. But you and your comrades paid that price all the same. That faraway land and the people live on, because you all were willing to fight to the bitter end. Because you were too stubborn to die. And because of love, I'm sure. Being grim and dark will only get you so far, don't you remember? It's like the Mughals, like Sir Umpatch himself said. The flame in the abyss. The love you bear for the ones you hold most dear. That is the source of true strength. Serenia could have never made it this far if her heart wasn't filled to the brim with love. Is this a roundabout way of asking me about my heart's desire? Let's not say we did, huh? I'm sure that Thancred fellow you mentioned would provide a far more meaningful and interesting response. Having to look after reincarnation of a surrogate daughter is certainly, well, I suppose on some level I can relate. What? I've not once thought of you as my father. Well, no, I mean, we're not even the same way, so of course no one would ever look at us and assume... What? If you want to put a label on it, then what do you prefer? Master and disciple? Manservant and noblewoman? Sid? How about Chocobo's ass and whatever you damn well like? Gods, you can be daft sometimes. Hey, what did I tell you about calling me that? Children, am I right? Best we give her a moment to cool her head off. For now, let's talk about that letter I mentioned earlier. It's addressed to you, but who penned it I cannot say. It was delivered to me by a young woman of a broom. Luni, I believe her name was. Said she'd seen us with you out and about in Ishgard before and reckoned that if she left it with us, you'd eventually be around to pick it up. Before you ask, no, I have not taken a peek, so its contents remain a complete and utter mystery to me. As for the sender, you'll have to pester Luni at the Holy Stables if you want to know more. Now, if you excuse me, I have an angry girl to mollify. Within the silver envelope is a paper, which you unfold to find a message written in a strangely familiar scrawl. So when your Shadowstar, you forgive me for the sudden correspondence and the secrecy. You've helped me in a way, once upon a time. It's past time I said as much, and so, here we are. Feels like a lifetime ago, come to think of it. You've been through quite a lot since then, accomplished incredible things. I'd like to think that, in some way, I was a part of your journey. Far from the best, no doubt. But for me and my own journey, I think it's safe to say you've been... well, there's no suitable words to describe it, really. I've done things, made decisions. Looking back, I can't help but feel more than a little foolish. But such is life, and we have to seize what few opportunities we have for closure. Even if it's through the written word and not face to face. So, wherever you are, I hope you're happy. Still fighting, still adventuring. Still doing what you love. Be well. The letter bears no signature or any obvious clues as to the author's identity. Perhaps Luni can shed light on this mystery? It's you, it's really you, Serenia Shadowstar, my hero. Honestly, I never thought I'd get to see you again, much less speak with you. Oh, I'm sorry. You probably don't remember me at all, do you? I'm not surprised. All in a day's work, I suppose. Saving silly little fools like me. And it was so long ago when you rescued me from those temple knights who were trying to take me away from my grandmother. I still remember it like it was yesterday, though. You swinging that great big sword of yours, bellowing all kinds of terrible threats and sending them running. I'm sure some might say you overdid it, but thanks to you, my grandmother and I never heard from that lot again. And ever since Sir Emmerich and his allies came into power, we've had a lot less of that trouble all over. But, let me guess, you didn't come all this way just to see me, did you? Do you know from whom that letter is? The letter? I thought so. It wasn't me who wrote it, I can tell you that much. I got it from a knight I befriended after tending to its chocobo a couple of times. Sir Patronet. He said it was to be delivered to the hero of the science, a peerless warrior with 1,000 victories to her name. After he described your features in detail, it all fell into places, and since I was certain you'd eventually pay a visit to your friends, I offered to take it to them. Anyway, he's the one you need to talk to if you're after the sender. Maybe check for congregation? I mean, that's where knights congregate, I presume? So this was the girl from the very first quest with the Dark Knight we had. The level 30 quest. Sir Patronet. How may I be of service to you, Mr. Shadowstar? You gave Lenny this letter? Letter? Oh, what a relief it is to see that it arrived unmolested. It was entrusted to me by Orella of Valga's Reach. After the battle at Gimlet Dark, I spent a few nights there, you see. I can only assume that whoever sent it to the Reach had heard tell of a battle between you and Lord Xenos, and how he had been brought to the Barber. However, by the time it arrived, you had long since been spirited away to Ishgard. Had Luni not recognized you from my stories, I do not know how I might have seen it to your hand. If you seek the offer, mayhap you should pay a visit to the Reach? I know only what I told you, but surely Orella can tell you more. May the Fury watch over and keep you, friend. I wouldn't be very surprised if it's from myself. Comrade Campbell and Mefford know it. And Galleon. Dear Galleon, but of Howard there is no mention. Howdart. A pleasure to see you. Lost that long-haired boy of yours again? And this is about the letter, is it? It came with a shipment of supplies from Little Alamigo, as I recall. I can only presume the sender was hoping that Commander Hext would see it to you personally, but I'm not surprised it escaped her notice, given the chaos of Gimlet Dark and after. It found its way into my medical supplies, and as you well know, I decided to let that Ishgardian Knight take charge of its delivery. In any event, I advise you to continue your search in Little Alamigo, and if anyone there knows aught of the letter's offer, it would be Gundabald. Okay, Gundabald. Where do you send me? Huh? Well met, Serenia. I was not expecting a visit. What brings you to Southern Thunderland this day? This letter, you say? Do you seek the author? If you read it, then you know their heart, what you meant to them, how you changed their life for the better. It's a feeling I understand all too well, which is why I agreed to send this letter to with the supplies for Walga's reach. Yet you never were one to let a mystery remain unresolved, were you? You seek answers, closure. I will not deny you this. At the Red Rooster's dead in Lower Danosha, you will find a man named Godehard. Speak with him. Perhaps then you will find a measure of peace. Oof. Oh gods, it's you. But why? Why are you here? You really don't remember? Any of it? The Kikian bandits? A certain merchant who may have overstepped its bounds just a trifle? You were a right bloody mess when you returned to the dry docks with my wares. And I do mean bloody. I say, is none of what I was telling you ringing a bell, really? Not even the part where I refused to thank you and demanded that you pay me restitution for a property you yourself returned to me? Well, seeing as I've already confessed, I may as well reiterate. It was me. It was just the beginning of my bad luck, as it happens. A string of bad decisions left me in debt to some very unforgiving fellows. Before I knew it, they had taken damn near everything I owned. I was friendless, penniless, hopeless, and let me tell you, running afoul of a warrior of light had not done me any favors either. There was a time when I couldn't help but blame you for my misfortune. And then, one day, when I was rummaging through my meager possessions, I had an epiphany. I stumbled upon a package from that shipment you recovered for me that ill-fated day. Flower bulbs, stained with Kikian blood, but viable for cultivation. Still brimming with the potential to grow and thrive. Before I knew it, I was cradling that package to my breast, sobbing and moaning like a mad fool. For a fool is exactly what I had been. I'd been offered a kindness without let and lien, and instead of thanking you, this generous hero had spat in her face. So I left that life behind, save for the bulbs I brought with me here. I apprenticed myself to a botanist and resolved to start anew. And wouldn't you know, the stubborn little fiends finally bloomed for me. I suppose it's only fitting that you'd show up again that very day. I have 1,000 regrets, and none greater than how I spoke to you. I say this not to beg for your forgiveness, but to tell you how you changed me for the better, and to thank you for the opportunity. I do have one request, if you are amenable to it. I pray you accept the flower, one of a precious few that has bloomed. a token of my heartfelt appreciation for my personal savior. Admittedly, this particular bead is perhaps best suited for funerals and farewells, but if you'd rather not keep it for yourself, perhaps there's someone else who might welcome it. Someone else indeed. Back here, where we stood at the beginning of our level 50 quest. There's no response. Yet there can be no answer but this, can there? So let us wait for a time, you and I, in the cold and in the snow, in the dark. Clever, clever, clever. Or are you just playing it by ear? No matter. I wanted this once, more than anything. A chance to speak and be heard. But neither of us needs it anymore. For if we were to look deep within ourselves, we would realize that we never did. We are the stories we tell ourselves. The brave hero, the tortured soul, the altruist, the pragmatist. They will tell you who they see, but you, and you alone, know who you are. For I speak only for myself. If you find comfort in my words, they are yours for the taking. But that is your choice, now and ever after, as it has always been. Now comes your part, to cloak yourself in the fiction, to breathe life into the dead, to give a voice to the voiceless. As we did together that day, when you gave us our answer. Was it ever mine? And speak with Sidurgu. Welcome back, Sylvania. As you can see, Rielle and I are getting along swimmingly, so you needn't worry about us in the slightest. Not one bit. So, what of that mysterious unsigned letter? Did your grand search for answers lead you anywhere interesting? Closure, perhaps? That's so. Well, glad to hear it, I suppose. I'll stop calling Sid a Chocobo's ass when he stops thinking of me as a stupid little girl. God, you'd think after everything we'd been through, he'd give me a little more credit. It's because I'm so bloody short. I'm due for a growth spurt, but I don't know if I'll ever be as tall as he is. Saved any more parallel worlds lately? I jest. Still, you can't blame a man for viewing such incredible claims with a measure of skepticism, can you? Yeah, but I think I end the episode here. It is, I think, of all the job quests for Shadowbringers, the longest from the recording time. How much of that remains after cutting, we will see. Anyway, until next time, when we play more Final Fantasy XIV, I am Ace, and don't get lost.